learning how to eat, keeping the discipline to work out. If you can maintain that, you can achieve absolutely any goal that you want. And I tell people this, man, it was much harder for me to get abs than to make $1 million. And if you don't have $1 million, start working on getting your abs. If you could get the discipline to have abs, to eat right every single day, and to live that disciplined life, you're gonna accomplish whatever you want.
Welcome back to Always Level Up the podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Garcia, and today I have a great guest. His name is Henry Munguia. Henry is a real estate investor. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a Marine. This guy's an overall badass. And today he's going to share his story on how he's leveled up and his journey to where he's at today. Welcome, Henry. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate you. But how's everything going? How has, well, for everybody that doesn't know Henry, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, sure. So as you mentioned, that I am a real estate investor, and I am a Marine. So actually, I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona.
Right.
I enlisted in the Marines at the age of 17. Got my first duty station was in Conway Bay, Hawaii. That's where I met my first wife. So I got married in Hawaii. Then I re-enlisted in the Marines.
Okay.
I was getting ready to get out, and when I was getting ready to get out of the Marines, I realized, I was like, man, I'm getting ready to get out, and I'm financially worse than when I came in.
Really?
So I was getting ready to get out of the Marines at the age of 21.
Right.
And I was like, man, I want to go home.
So you went in at 17?
I went in at 17.
Wow.
So 2 weeks after high school, after graduation, I was in Marines. I was in boot camp. So I was getting ready to get out, and I didn't really have anything to show for it.
Right.
My first 4 years in the Marines, man, I was just partying, having a good time. I didn't take advantage of education. I didn't do any of that. So I just was not ready to get out. So I ended up re-enlisting for another 4 years.
So you thinking like, hey, let's try this again?
Yes, but I need to do it right. So then what I did, I re-enlisted. I got stationed in Okinawa, Japan. And it worked out because when I got stationed there, my sister and her husband were stationed there.
Right.
So I had family there. So I got stationed in Okinawa, Japan. And this time I took advantage of, I got a few college courses in, but I took advantage of all the training, all the extra training. I got a bunch of certifications. That way, if I were to get out, like I did, I was prepared to get out. And I started saving money, just looked at it from a responsible standpoint. And if I was going to come home, I just wanted to come home and look like I accomplished something. I didn't want to get out and not have it.
Yeah, come out worse than you went in.
Right.
Yeah, I went through all this hard training. I did all the discipline thing, and then next thing you know, I come out here and all I had is bad habits. I'm a party animal, and it's just, I can see that. So where would you say was the first major level up in your life?
You know, I would say the real first level up, and I didn't look at it as a level up back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually when I was joining the Marines, and a year I knew I was gonna be. I know I was. I always say Marines are born. They're not. Someone just doesn't enlist in the Marines. Marines show characteristics from a young age that they're Marines, and when I talk to parents of Marines, they tell me about their children. I'm like, yeah, that's a Marine. He's just a Marine, and they just a born warrior, just born. Yeah. So I always knew I was going to be a Marine. So I actually went and visited all the other recruiters before I went and visited the Marine recruiters. So I went through that. I enlisted in the Marines my first week of high school. You have to be 17 and you have to be a senior in high school. So my first week of high school, I enlisted in the Marines. And from that day, I just started training. I started working out every day. They tell you, hey, here's the exercises you got to get good at. So I just started running, started doing pull-ups, started doing sit-ups, push-ups, just started working out hard. So I just did that on my own. I didn't have to have anybody tell me anything. So fast forward, I get to Marine Corps boot camp, and I'm maxing out the physical fitness testing, which is running 3 miles in under 18 minutes, doing 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes or 20 pull-ups.
So you went in there like, hey, I'm going to crush this.
I didn't realize that, though. I just went in. I was just like, if I want to go to boot camp, I need to be in shape. So I started working out. So I would just work out every day. It was part of my daily activities. I would run, I'd do pull-ups, I would do sit-ups and do push-ups. And I would just, every day I would get it. And I would talk to my friends, and if they were working out, they weren't working out as consistently as I did. I think they didn't really start getting after it until we started getting closer to boot camp. So we get to boot camp, and I'm maxing out the physical fitness test. And it was very easy. So I'm 17 years old, 135 pounds. I'm running 3 miles in like 17 minutes. I'm just getting it. I'm doing
your
pull-ups.
mindset's already geared towards
But
that.
I didn't go in there with that intention.
Right.
I just knew I had to get in shape. So every phase in boot camp, there's 3 phases you do a physical fitness test. So every phase I'd max it out. So we get to the final physical fitness test, and they ask, hey, where's my 300 PFTers at? Which is the guys that are maxing them out, and we all raise our hand. They're like, hey, who's gonna go for the most physically fit Marine competition? And I'm like, oh shit, I never even knew that existed. So I raise my hand, you know, but I don't have the confidence that I'm gonna do it, because the whole time in boot camp, there's a couple guys in my platoon that are faster than me, but it's a point system in the physical fitness test. So it depends on how many pull-ups you do, how many sit-ups you do, and how fast you run. Well, the fastest guy in our platoon couldn't do a lot of pull-ups. So I knew I was going to beat him, but the guy that always beat me running, he could do a lot of pull-ups. So anyway, the first thing we do in the fitness test is the pull-ups. So I purposely get to the last spot in line because I wanted to see what everybody else is doing. So sure as shit, I do the most pull-ups out of everybody. I did 50 pull-ups in boot
Straight?
camp.
Wow.
Yeah, but back then you could kip. I don't know if it's the same now. So I did 50 pull-ups, but I didn't start kipping until I was like at 25. And my forearms started getting tight. So then I start knocking out all these pull-ups. And then eventually my hands just let go because my forearms are so tight. I still had the energy, but I didn't have the grip strength anymore. So then we go to the sit-ups. I knock out 120 sit-ups in 2 minutes. And then we get to the run. And this is where it's going to make me or break me, because that guy, I remember his name is Private Randy. His last name was Randy. And man, and he would always beat me. So we take off to do the 3 miles. And as we're getting on that last mile, we're closing in up to the finish line. You could see it way down the flight line. You could see it. I see him. So I start running, and I start running quiet. And every time he would turn his head, I would go a little bit this way. And then he'd go like this, and I would go, he'd go. And I would just always stayed behind him until we got to about half a mile. And then I just took off, man. I gunned it. And by the time he realized I was passing him, he picked up his pace, but I just never stopped. I'm like, I'm going to die out here on this damn flight line. And I ended up, I can hear him running and huffing behind me the whole time. And I'm not going to stop. And I eventually heard him let off. He let his foot off the gas, and I ended up crossing the finish line.
Dude.
Well, but I still don't think anything of it, because there's a lot of I'm running 17-minute 3 miles. There's guys that are doing it in 15 minutes. So you never know where they're at on the point system. But man, I ended up graduating boot camp the most physically fit Marine.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was never
that's
my
awesome.
expectation. There was, we had a graduating class of like 500 Marines. And yeah, so that was, I guess you could say, my first level up. Now, it wasn't something I intentionally did. It was just a natural part of what I was doing. It's just built into my daily discipline.
Well, I think there was intention when you noticed that there was like, oh, this is a thing. I can actually, there's a chance I could win it, right? And then you're like, hey, well, let me go for it. Let's see what happens.
Right, but even then, I just still didn't have the confidence. Like, you know, some guys are like, yeah, I'm gonna win this.
So what gave you that confidence to push through to the end? Like, what lit that? What was that spark? Something had to have, a light switch had to turn on somewhere where you're like, hey, you can do this.
I don't know that it was a spark that made me realize I could do it. I just wanted to try to do it. And because there's so many guys out there, I'm like, man, there's gonna be somebody faster. There's gonna be somebody stronger. But yeah, I don't know that, I just didn't have that self-confidence, even at that point, to say I'm gonna win this competition.
So looking back, what would you say would be the thing that, if you ever have doubt, like what would be the thing to overcome that doubt? Because it worked out in your favor, right? So
It did, but it's just putting in the work.
Okay.
You put in the work is gonna remove all doubt. You're gonna get better at it. And again, I think that's really been one of my biggest issues. Even when I got into real estate, when I first got into real estate, my goal was to have 10 houses. I've never been mentally one that wants to conquer the world. I'm like, hey, I just want to get to this point. And I've realized that's really been an issue that I've had. I've always, every goal I've set, I've hit. And then when I achieve these goals, I'm like, you know what? This don't taste as good as I thought it was going to taste.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's just,
you raise your standard.
Got to raise your standards.
Raise your standards.
Man.
Once you see it's possible, you do it, and you're like, hey, maybe I'm shooting too low.
Absolutely. I think you got to, Wes Brown has that quote, you aim for the stars, and if you aim for the moon, if you miss, you land amongst the stars.
Right, yep.
And that's actually true, because if you set your goals and you put the processes, the daily activities in place, the daily action in place, you're going to get there.
Right.
It's just a matter of time until you get there. So that's it.
Yeah.
So you got to, your action will trump your not having confidence.
Right.
To
the lack of confidence.
Right.
Absolutely. So after, you go through that, boom, that's a level up. I believe too. It's like, man, because you achieve something, man, you're the most physically fit guy in the Marine Corps. Like, that's not
in boot camp.
In boot camp. Well, in boot camp. Okay. In boot camp. But still, that's not something to that's not a walk in the park. I'm sure it took a lot of effort and a lot of training, a lot of hard work. So I think that's huge. So after, you go through boot camp and you're going through the Marine Corps and training and your service and duty, what happens next? Like, where do you go after that? Like, you do your 4 years. Where's the next level of happening in your life?
Well, so then I decide to get out. It's 2000. Early 2000, I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to get out. I was at that point in the military, my career. If I re-enlist another time, it's going to put me to 12 years. So at that point, you might as well stay in, because you're already on the going downhill to retire, right? So I could retire at 37. So once you cross that 10-year mark, hey, you might as well. The way I looked at it, might as well stay in. So I was like, man, there has to be more to life, though. There's more money to make out there. I just need to get out, and I need to give it a shot. So I ended up getting out. And for that whole year before I got out, I started applying for jobs. Right, I had a little bit of college, I think like 30 college credits, but I had a lot of training. I had a lot of leadership behind me at that point. I was 24, going on 25. I was ready to get out.
Right.
At that time, I was.
That's a good age.
Right.
That's a good age, man. Brain's fully developed,
right.
And
at this point, I had a son. My son was born in November 1999, so I was getting out the following year with a 1-year-old baby. So I had to do something, and so I just started applying for jobs, man. And I eventually, as soon as my ex-wife, her family lived here in San Antonio. I'm from Arizona, so we ended up moving to San Antonio. And there was a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of employment opportunities back in 2000. So I was applying for jobs. Eventually got hired on with FedEx Freight. As a operations supervisor. Now, when I got hired with them, they had just started what was called the Leadership Development Program. And I was the first one in San Antonio to go through that.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I guess they're like, hey, this young guy's coming out of the military. He's probably a good candidate for the
Looks like he has some discipline.
Program. Yeah, let's run him through that. So that's, getting, I guess, my career started outside of the military was, I think, for mentally was a big step for me. At the time, my salary wasn't much, but it was more than most members of my family were making. So I just felt like it's progress. I was on the right path, right? So I ended up buying my first house and used my VA loan, got my first KB home back in 2001. So
hey, man, that's huge.
Things are moving, man. and me buying my first house, I was the first one in my family to buy a house. Now, my parents, when they were married, they got divorced when I was like 1 or 2 years old.
but they had a house back then. But ever since then, we had never, my immediate family had never owned a home. And I have an older brother, older sister, then it's me. So at the age of 25, I was the first one to buy a house in my family. So I had a career and I bought a house.
Man.
So I felt like I was on the right path. I was moving the right direction.
Right on.
So,
well, I think you were, because, you know, most people don't become homeowners. I mean, I don't know what the statistical age is, but some people don't even ever see it, you know? And I think just to have that at such a young age, it's huge progress, you know? I don't think I owned my first home till about 28, 29.
okay, right
So
on.
awesome. So you get your first home, you're working at FedEx, you know, you're a supervisor, you're a leader there. Is this your dream job?
Yes, I thought it was, man. I was in operations. I thought I was going to be there forever, but you know, fast forward a few years, come around right about 2003, you know, I just wasn't very, very responsible with our finances, right? So looked up one day, we had a bunch of credit card debt, living paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, man, looking at the life I wanted to have, I'm living the life I wanted to have, but I didn't realize it was gonna be so damn tough. You know, back then I had a house payment, I had 2 car payments, and a couple credit cards. I'm like, man, I'm maxed out. There's no room here for anything else. I'm just living to make my monthly expenses, and that's it. I couldn't take a vacation. I couldn't do anything.
There was no freedom.
There was no freedom, right? So then my ex-father-in-law had told me about an opportunity to go work overseas. And I was like, you know what? If I go work overseas, I could pay off all my debt, and then I could reset. And that's what I did. I went and I took a job started in Kuwait and ended up in Iraq for 2 years. So from the end of 2003 to 2005, I went and worked in the Middle East as a civilian contractor.
Okay. For the military? Was it for the military?
It wasn't for the military. It was government, but it wasn't.
Okay, gotcha.
It was in support of the military, but it was
Right.
Yeah, it was a little different.
Gotcha.
But so I went overseas for 2 years. That was fun.
Yeah.
You know, working in Iraq for a couple of years and experiencing the IEDs and
that was
suicide
fun.
bombers and stuff.
Man, that had to be intense.
It was, man. But you know, I actually enjoyed it. You know, being in the Marines and getting out. When I was in the Marines, I was in from 93 to 2000. So I missed the Gulf War in the early 90s. Then after 9/11, I missed that. So I felt like I was actually contributing in a way. But so I went back as a civilian contractor. So I did that for 2 years. And when I came back, I was able to reset.
You had some cash,
I
paid
had
the
some
debt
cash,
off.
had my debts paid off. I was ready to go.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right, let's rock and roll.
So yeah, shoot, man. So yeah, at that time I must have been 29, 30 years old now.
Right.
So reset, cash in the bank. I had a house payment, but I believe that was it. So I was ready to go, man.
And so what happens after that? You come back, now you're looking for some more work?
I get ready to come back, and FedEx calls my ex-wife. They're like, hey, when is this dude coming back? And she's like, well, he's getting ready to come back like in a couple months. So they call me. They're like, hey, do you want a job?
Yeah.
We're gonna pay you better this time. We're gonna.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll go back into that. So I fell back into FedEx Freight, and I was working nights again. So I was like, all right. So now my salary's it wasn't much better, but it was better. But I was reset. Like I went through the pain of having to pay off the debt, just those growing pains of getting financially responsible. So then I start working nights again, right? So I start working nights, and I've always just had a fire for real estate. I've always wanted to start getting into real estate since I was a young kid.
Right.
So I get home one night, and like real early in the morning, maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm taking off my shoes and I turn on the TV, and there's a real estate investment course coming to San Antonio. It's the Russ Whitney real estate investment course, and he was from out of Florida. So they're coming to San Antonio, like to the River Center, somewhere down here, and they were going to be here for 4 days, but it cost $1,000 to go. And I had just got back.
Yeah.
I had money. I'm like, boom, I'm going. And that's what really opened up my eyes to real estate.
Yeah.
I didn't know about wholesaling, flipping, and all that stuff. All I knew was I wanted to own 10 rental properties, and I was going to be rich. You know, have 10 rental properties, get them paid off, and I was just going to ride off.
That was the plan, right?
That was it.
10 rental properties, I'm a millionaire.
Right. That's how I really looked at it.
Right.
And I didn't look at anything in between. Just what I just
kept
what
it
I
simple,
want.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I go to this $1,000 course for 4 days, and it just exposes me to all different facets within real estate. And of course, they're selling courses there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I need to get into this.
I'm sold.
Yes. So then I buy 4 classes for 15 grand. And dude, man, back then it was like 2005,
Dude, that's a lot of money.
2006, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, I had the money, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, this is making better decisions in your mind, right? You're like, I'm making better decisions because I'm investing in myself.
Right.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I went. So I paid for the courses. Caught a lot of crap from my family. No one could believe that I was spending so much money to go learn this. You know, it's
everybody has a better idea of what you could do with the money, right?
Right. But also a more safer method of becoming wealthy and living the life. So I ended up paying for the courses, and the first course I went to was just like talked about general real estate stuff, talked about some creative financing, touched wholesaling, flipping, and a little bit of everything. They called it Real Estate U or something like that. But the next course I went to was wholesaling, and I was like, damn, I could start wholesaling.
I could do this.
Right. So I went to the wholesaling course, and I came back, bought a bunch of signs. This probably puts me right about 2006, and I started dropping signs everywhere, man. And that's how I started wholesaling.
Right.
So started wholesaling houses. It took me a long time to get started though, because I was working nights. So every Sunday evening, I would go drop about 50 signs. I had a route on the south side of San Antonio and the northwest side of San Antonio. So I'd alternate weeks.
And that'll get your phone ringing.
They would get it ringing, man. So I would go in Monday night, get back, Monday night, Tuesday morning, then I'd hit the street. Then I'd go sleep 2 or 3 hours, pick my son up from school, get him ready for bed, then I'd go in at night. And that's how I just lived, man.
Yeah.
So from Monday morning, I dropped signs Sunday night, my phones would ring and ring all the way to about Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And man, it just took me a long time to get my first wholesale deal done. So it took me literally about 12 months, man.
Yeah,
got my
tough.
first.
It's not as easy as it looks, right?
Man, thank goodness I stuck with it. It took me about 12 months to get my first deal done. I made $3,000 on a wholesale.
We got some money coming back in.
I didn't sleep that day, man, because I went in, contracted the property. I found somebody to buy it. They actually showed me how to do the assignment contract. And then that was an all-day affair.
Yeah.
And then I had to go in to work that night. So I didn't even sleep that whole day. Then I went into work.
You probably have a high that you're like, man.
Super excited, man.
You're like, man, I got my first deal. 12 months coming. Here we go.
So I got that deal done. And then it took me 6 months to get my next deal done.
Yeah.
But after my second deal, I was starting to pop off 2 or 3 a month,
You start to learn what's working, what doesn't work.
Right, and just really learning how to communicate with sellers, man, and just earning their confidence, and just get that going. But it was a brutal process. It was very long, man, and I didn't want help.
Right.
They offered mentorships, but the mentorships are like 50, 60 grand. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to pay for that.
Yeah.
And the mentorship was like someone would come in, fly in for the weekend and show you exactly what to do. It's probably really worth it.
It probably was, but
man, it took me
you're
18
ready.
months to figure it out, But man, so then I got that going and I started buying rentals, man, kind of all about the same time. This was before the 2008 market crash.
Right.
And that's when you could buy rental properties, or you could get loans for nothing, man.
Right.
So my first
stated income, right? It was stated income.
My first 4 houses, I bought with no money down. Just
boom.
Walked into these new, like these Centex KB home builders.
Yeah.
Applied, got them, boom. Turned them into rentals. Like that's all. I'm like, I'm on my way to 10 rentals, baby. Let's go.
Here we go. I can do this 10 times easy.
Yeah. So
how many houses y'all building?
Right. And that's what was happening, man. So my first 4 houses, no money down. My 5th house, they're like, hey, like, you already have 4 houses. You're buying your 5th one. You need to put some money down. And I was like, well, how do I do that? They're like, do you have the money? I'm like, yes, but I don't want to use it. Right? Because when I went to these real estate courses, they're like, don't use your own money, use other people's money. They're like, well, how much equity you got in your first house? So I got a line of credit against my first property, and then I put that money down on my 5th property, which was not a smart move, right? So I'm at this time I'm 31, 30. I'm young, man. I'm still running, and my tenants are probably my age today.
Yeah.
You know, so 08 happens, and everyone stops paying. And it was crazy, man. I was very over leveraged on all my properties. You know, I thought I was doing the right thing. I was getting into these middle income properties. I had 5 middle income properties. Payments were like anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800. And I had tenants that wouldn't pay me. So thank goodness I had all this money from being overseas. So I started to have to use a lot of that just to
float the payments.
Yeah, float payments, and I didn't understand eviction processes. It was just horrible.
It becomes chaotic, right?
Yeah, it was real chaotic. So anyhow, go through that whole mess, go through a divorce, you know, and it's just messy, man, all around. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody to have to go through that financial burden again. Right? Like, geez, man, go through that financial burden. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I wasn't. So ended up going through a divorce throughout this time, and had 3 houses at one point going into foreclosure. Thank goodness loan modifications were available. Did some loan modifications, got them performing again. This was around 2011. Has out of money, divorced, completely broke, back to square one, man.
Reset.
So, reset again.
Boom, hit the button. Let's go.
So at that time, I had met a guy who I met him like in 07, who asked me to go into business with him, and I didn't want to. But I kept in contact with him every year. I'd give him a call just to say hi. And in 2011, my new wife, she's like, hey, call this guy. So I gave him a call, and he doesn't answer, but he gets my voicemail. And he was in Colorado at the time. So then when he gets back to San Antonio, he gives me a call, and he's like, hey, God sent you to me. And I'm like, what? He's like, God sent you to me. So he goes, hey, I got this new business I'm running. I want you to come check it out and tell me if you want to be part of it. So me and my wife went, talked to him, and quit my job, started working with this dude.
You're like, got
into real estate 100%. Got into real estate 100%, and that's really when I just started learning a lot, surrounding myself with the right people, and just started building my portfolio, man.
So looking back in that experience, that real estate experience where you're buying all these houses, right? Zero money out of pocket. And then, you know, you're renting them out, you're building up your rental portfolio. Like, hey, I'm getting my 10 houses. What do you think the mistake was? Like, what do you think the mistake was in that process? Because part of it's right in terms of like you're acquiring the asset, but what was wrong with that?
What was wrong was I didn't have the income to support the payments, right? So if somebody didn't make a payment, I had to make that payment. I was so dependent on the tenants making their payments because I didn't have the additional cash flow coming in from another source to pay it, right? So my payments were $1,200, the rents were $1,350, you know, because the interest rates back then were like 6.5%, 7%. They weren't 2 or 3%. So the rents just covered payments basically. And if there was a vacancy, all that was wiped out. So that was really my biggest thing, is just being very dependent upon the tenants. And although I had cash, I didn't have enough cash stashed away to support that if there was ever an issue. So when I went back into it, I'm like, this is my 3rd time. I'm like, I ain't gonna do that again.
I have a whole nother skill set.
Man, I'm not gonna go through that again.
Right.
And now my wife, she's like, hey, we're not doing that. So we're like, you know what? We're just gonna save. We're gonna save, and we're gonna buy everything cash. And she had gone through a divorce, and she had some financial struggles as well. So we're both really snake bitten by bad financial decisions. So we didn't want to touch that again. So as we started making more money, we just decided that, man, we're just gonna buy everything cash. And this is back when we could buy houses for 30, 40 grand.
Right.
So we would save money, buy a house, save money, buy a house. Even our first flip, she wouldn't let me borrow money to do a flip. We had to save the money, and we had to use our own funds to do it, to prove that we understood how to manage a flip and be profitable.
Right.
So everything, when we first got started, this third time was just cash, man. So
well, you also had another job that was actually paying you better.
It was.
Yeah. So
it was. Right. So now it's because I was all commission based, and I understood how to operate within, with the flips and the rentals and all that stuff. And I was older now.
Right.
But yeah, man. So I just really focused on the affordable housing market and just started buying houses, man. I'd save and buy everything cash. And once I want to say eight or 10 properties free and clear, then I started to leverage myself. Then I was like, okay, now I could go get some loans, because if something happens, I have this cash flow to be able to support any payments. I'm not having to come out of pocket any payments.
Right.
And that's when I really started leveraging and started to expand.
Right. So you shifted careers, right? You made a career shift. So you went all into real estate with a partner, buying affordable housing.
Right.
And then from there, you're like, okay, now I have this business that I can be in real estate. Now I can acquire more assets. And now you're back to chasing those goals again, right? The 10 houses. That's right. We're back on that path again, right?
At that point.
Or did you raise the bar?
Yeah, it wasn't even. I didn't even have a goal at that point. I just want to start stacking properties. I was just stacking properties. I remember when I bought my 10th house. I remember the day I bought my 10th house, because I was all excited. I walked in the title company, house number 10.
Let's go.
But now that you're bringing that up, I never went back to 10 houses. I never even looked at that again. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep on stacking properties. And I was looking at it more from cash flow. My mind switched from properties, the amount of properties, to how much cash flow I was getting, and that became more important to me, was how much cash flow do I need to do I want to have in the future.
So you changed the mindset from owning the asset to actually having a healthy amount of cash flow that was going to come in, that was going to be able to sustain your lifestyle, but also allow you to save and stack up cash so you can buy more assets that put you in a position to where you're not over leveraged.
Exactly.
Right. And now you got money coming in, you have healthy finances, you're making good decisions. Now, could you have done that and get to that point without going through all those experiences?
Well, no. you got to go through. I shouldn't say you have to, but those learning experiences. I just wasn't surrounding myself with the right people to prevent me from going through stuff like that.
Right.
And then even then, I remember I did have a friend that he was a realtor. He's like, hey man, I probably wouldn't buy that house. I'm like, I'm still gonna buy it. Sure. I'm gonna show you, man. Well, looking back, but I just should have been surrounding myself with mentors that would have helped guide me through all that mud, because I wouldn't allow my children to make those same mistakes right now if they were in my position, right?
Yeah, so. I think that with some of these experiences, I said we just have to go through them, man. We have to go through them, and everybody has to go through their own experiences, different types of experiences. And I don't think there's a mentor or a person that can save you from, the heartache and the pain that you go through, because, like you said, a friend even told you, a realtor that was like, hey, you probably shouldn't buy it. And you're like, I'm buying it anyways, right?
Right.
So it's like when you have your mind fixed on doing something, you're gonna go do it. And I think the lesson is to actually learn a lesson from it. When you can look back and say, man, hey, I shouldn't do that. Next time I'm gonna do it better. So that's learning from the adversity and defeat. And I think that's really what shapes someone's future. Because some people just go back and they're stubborn. They want to just go back and just try to prove everybody else wrong.
Right.
And some people are like, nah, you know what? That just didn't work. I was wrong. I'm going to do better.
Right.
So there's some humility there that you have to go through, and I think that's important. So as you, it sounds like, man, you made some tremendous, leaps, through your experience, and a lot of challenges, man, a number of challenges. But you get to this point of advancement, and you're growing again.
Right.
So where's the next level up at?
Man, the next level up was with my health, man. It really was. I was.
So how'd you let the health go from being a Marine? Like
It's not that I did let it go. I just didn't educate myself, right? So I just kept my same eating patterns, my same eating habits. I still ran. I still was active. It just didn't look like I was. As I was getting older, I just gained. You just gain weight if you keep on doing the same thing, and that was something I didn't understand. And I always knew I was not happy with my body. Like I always knew I was just always uncomfortable, and I would hide behind my money, man, because I was so. When I started getting into real estate, it was just how much money am I going to make, how much cash flow am I going to have, and I really focused on that, and I didn't pay attention to my health, right? So I was just running and gunning, making a lot of money, and I was that dude that would do 2 or 3 vacations a year,
right?
And I was heavy, and I was be like, it's all right, I make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I make a lot of money. I'm doing pretty good.
My pockets stick out more than my belly.
Right, and that's foolish to be like that.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that do that, just hide behind their money. And I, as I continue to get older, I started having health issues. And I was like, man, this is not the way to be. And I always knew I was unhappy, and when I would see my pictures, I'd be like, gosh dang, I need to lose some weight. I need to lose some weight. And every vacation, I would always tell my wife, baby, next year, I want to be thin. And she would just laugh, you say that every year, But man, it was just, I was just having a lot of issues, man. What really happened was I was going to the doctor every, I would say, 3 months, 4 months, drawing blood, because they're like, dude, something's wrong. We just got to figure out what's going on with your blood. And they would change medications on me. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My son was getting ready to join the military, and I'm like, hey man, you need to get in shape. You need to exercise. Because I was the most physically fit Marine. I'm like, dude, you need to get after it.
Right,
You need to exercise, and let me show you what to do. And he's like, he just didn't have the desire for it. And he's like, and one day I was in his case, and he goes, well, what about you? Like, look at you.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me all these things, but what about you? And I was like, all right, dude, I'm gonna show you, right?
I bet that lit a fire.
That probably was lit a fire more than all the medical crap I was going through. It really did. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm gonna show you. And I was at that. I started listening to Wes Watson speak.
Right.
And he had I guess on his YouTube channel, he was talking about, he's like, he curses a lot, but one thing he was saying is like, and what about you people who go to the damn gym every day with no results? You show up to the damn gym every day with the fucking pot belly looking like a fucking gummy bear with no fucking results. But yet you're there every day.
Yeah.
How come you don't have discipline when it comes to eating?
Right.
And I was like, you know what? He's right. I'm like, that's who I am. So I went up and I talked to my wife, and my wife is like, you need to do that. She's like, if you don't pay for it, you're not gonna achieve. Now, my wife, she understood this shit for years, and she would always tell me about it. I just never wanted to listen to it.
Yeah.
My wife's always been in great shape, always took care of herself, and here I am, heavy as can be. But for some reason, all that stuff, then hearing that statement, I was like, you know what, man? I'm switching. I got to make a change. So this was March of 2021. I jumped on this program.
Hired him as a coach.
In about 7 months, I lost almost 70 pounds, man. When I started, my heaviest, I was probably 233, 235. When I started his program, I was like 222, 223. I got down to 155.
And that was
just eating. I had the workouts and stuff, but just.
But you already had. You maintained the same workout regimen?
No, I started lifting more weights.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was always a runner, man.
Right.
And I would tell people, man, I just ran a half marathon, and they would look at me like, you just ran a half marathon? Like, there's no way you just ran a half marathon. Like, yeah, dude, I ran it in 2 hours, So, but I was just so damn heavy, man.
Right.
But I always worked out. I was just heavy. I just ate whatever the hell I wanted. I always used my workouts as an excuse to eat whatever I wanted.
Right.
And that's just the way I was. I would always tell people, man, I run to eat. I run to eat. I can't imagine if I didn't work out how big I would have got. Shit, I was already pushing 230.
Yeah, that's big, man. That's heavy.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. I can relate because I've had that experience too, where get overweight and you're like, man, hold on,
Right.
Look in the mirror, you're not happy with yourself. It does something to your confidence. Like if you're making money, there's a certain level of confidence that comes from that. But man, when your health is on the line and you start thinking about, man, how am I gonna be when I'm 40, 50? Like, am I going to be able to move myself around or somebody going to be moving me around?
Right.
And those things they become real thoughts, man. And
right.
It's like, man, you're going to do something about it or not. And I think that's awesome because a lot of people will, they look down on the working out and the healthy lifestyle. Like, man, like you're just foreign,
It's tough, man. It's absolutely tough. And, I quit drinking, I quit the drink, and quitting drinking was difficult, man. Even now we go places, kind of get bullied, man, because you don't drink.
Yeah.
Like people are like, "What? You don't drink?"
Right.
I'll have a drink maybe every now and then, but I'm not gonna sit there and get hammered like I used to,
Right.
So, but yeah, man, I think just getting my fitness in order was a big level up, and I wish that was something I started way back in the day. I mean, I did, but I didn't really understand how to maintain it. I didn't understand how to eat properly. I can imagine if I was at 17 eating properly, where I'd be today. If I understood what I do now, where my fitness would be today.
Right. Well, I think that's all, just part of the battles of life.
Right.
Like, man, life's not always smooth sailing, right, for anybody, right? Everybody's going to have their challenges. But some people choose to fight and some people just lay down and don't do anything, man. And,
right.
Hey, being a Marine, I'm a fighter. You're going to go out there. You're going to go out there and get after it and make yourself better. So I think that's awesome. And there's something to be said about that, man, the amount of discipline that it takes to even from that point where you're, you are overweight, but then it's like, man, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make something happen. So what do you think? So after that, you got your health in check, right? Okay. Then what values and principles did you start to instill in your life to keep yourself on that path and keep you moving forward?
What values? Just my word to myself, man. I told myself, once working out, losing the weight was just part of that process. And I realized, when I started losing the weight, my confidence started to grow. And I really put a strict schedule on myself, waking up super early. And I just really wanted to keep my word to myself and to my kids. I just really wanted to be a good example for my kids to look up to and be like, yeah, my dad's living the good life,
Right.
For my wife to be proud of me. And I want to keep my word to myself. But what I realized as when I started losing weight and I was going through my workouts and training, I was really training my mind, man. And after a while, it wasn't about losing the weight. It wasn't about the workouts. It became more to training my mind. I realized waking up early, working out the way I do, I was able to sort through a lot of my issues. We all have issues, right? And I was able to sort through all those issues early in the morning, before my family was awake, before I had to give myself to my family. So waking up, at 3:25, I'd be done my workouts by 6 a.m. The world starting to wake up at 6 a.m. And I was ready to give the best version of myself to everybody else.
Right.
And that's what I realized, I've working out and keeping that discipline, living that hard life, gave me a lot more patience for everything else.
Yeah, that's
it
tough.
Really did.
It's tough, right?
Right, because man, there's mornings at by 7 a.m. my phone starts ringing. I start with running the business and stuff. You're gonna have a lot of issues. Things are happening, and that phone starts ringing at 7 a.m. And by the time that phone rings, I've already been up several hours. I've already worked out. I've already ran. I've done everything I need to do. My energy is high. I'm ready to
You're
take
moving.
on.
You're rolling.
Absolutely, man. And so it's just really keeping my word to myself, man. And just I threw out all the different size clothes. I had clothes. I had wardrobe from 200 pounds all the way to 230 pounds. I just
Right.
got rid of all that, man, and I'm not going back. So I'm gonna keep my word to myself, and
Right.
I enjoy the workouts, but again, it's more for the mind, man. It keeps me going.
Right on. And I think that, with that being said, a lot of times people can, say something that they're going to do something, and then even if they didn't make the commitment to anybody else, they'll give up on that word to themselves. They'll be like, well, nobody heard me say it, right? And they give themselves a pass. But I think that when you take the word that the commitments that you make to yourself more serious than you do to anybody else, everything else starts to fall in line because your character starts to shine through that, right? Because behind closed doors, when no one's looking, man, I'm still the same person. I'm still consistent in what I say I'm going to do. I don't need somebody to watch me do this to show them that I'm going to do. No, I do it for myself because these are the things that add value to my life, and they actually help me improve and give me that quality that I've always wanted. But it does take that hard work, right? It takes that effort, and it does take a big commitment. So I think that's huge. That's a huge lesson right there because, growing up, I know I've experienced where like, nobody's watching me. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But like, nah, man, God's watching you.
Yeah, absolutely.
God knows. You know most importantly. And that I think that with that, your character is built and it's developed, and then you become somebody of value. People that, a person that people are always going to want to be around, someone that can enhance someone else's life because you went through the work and you paid the price, to make a difference. So I think that's awesome, bro. Right. So, I want to wrap it up with what would be your best advice to your younger self with everything that you know now to get through life? What would be your best advice for life lesson?
I just keep your word to yourself, man. I could do it all over again. I didn't realize how important nutrition was. Learning how to eat, keeping the discipline to work out. If you can maintain that, you can achieve absolutely any goal that you want. And I tell people this, man. It was much harder for me to get abs than to make $1 million. And if you don't have $1 million, start working on getting your abs. And if you could get the discipline to have abs, to eat right every single day, and to live that disciplined life, you're gonna accomplish whatever you want. That's just the beginning of it. But I did it in reverse. I wish I would have started off at an early age with that type of discipline, because especially being younger, you go with the crowds a lot, right? Your friends go party, you go party. Again, I'm not against any of that, but you just fall in line with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world isn't trying to be ultra successful or be wealthy. Most people just want to get by and live a good life. Right. I want to thrive in life. So that's what I would say. Get your discipline in order. Become healthy, learn how to eat, and just be a good role model to everybody, man. Be that man you always needed. That's another Wes Watson quote. Be that man you always needed. Yeah. So that's what I would suggest. Right on. I think that's some wise words right there. Be disciplined. Do what you say you're gonna do. Follow through on your commitments. Live a disciplined life. The party, it doesn't last forever, man. And the consequences that come from it, they're not always worth it. No, they're not. But sometimes you got to go through it. But at the end of the day, learn your lessons and get out there and grow and level up. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Check us out. How can people get a hold of you? Instagram, Hank Buys Houses. YouTube Best way channel? To get a hold of me. YouTube channel? No YouTube channel. Not yet. Coming soon. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one.